Welcome to a whole load of property, business, and mindset, a podcast bringing together like-minded people who have an interest in all things business, property investing, and personal development.
Hi Sam, thanks for coming on the podcast today, really appreciate it. So I'll let you give a bit of an introduction to yourself in a moment, but for the listeners and for those of you watching on YouTube, we have Sam Cooke here from Blue Bricks magazine. So today we're going to talk about who Sam is and talk about Blue Bricks magazine and how it can help people in the property industry. Maybe not so many or just people in the property industry, any industry, whether it's all sorts of business. So Sam, like I say, thanks for coming on.
No, pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much for having me. First of all, I've just ordered some brand new branded t-shirts at Blue Bricks and I'm livid I forgot mine today since from record. So apologise I'm not branded up. But yeah, lovely to be here, obviously, to speak for your followers. As you've already covered, Dan, I'm the recent owner of Blue Bricks magazine, bought it off the previous owners and now just looking to add a lot more value to the subscription and kind of grow it out there and make it more of a well-known brand.
Amazing. Thanks for touching on that. So we will touch on the Blue Bricks magazine stuff, a bit further down the line. But I always like to start the podcast with, a few questions and understand who our sort of interviewee, who our guest is on the podcast. So, let's take it back. You can go as far back as you want. Who is Sam Cooke and sort of how did you get to where you are today? Obviously running the magazine, but if we start back, when you're, let's say in your teens or even after that.
Go from there. Yeah, so I think apparently, so I'm 23. If anyone's watching the recording going, he looks a bit young. I'm 23 years old and my background is a little bit different. So I've been working since I was 16. I started off as an apprentice for a kind of building society, and then went from there into kind of sales and customer support. Now, what I will say from working from 16 till 19 is the jobs I picked up were just stuff that came up by happen chance. I was offered more pay, I was promoted, and I kind of just drifted through life, being younger, getting the kind of money I was on. Obviously not a cracking amount, but being a young lad, it felt like a lot of money. I was happy drifting by, but I got to a point when I was 19 where I was like, you know what? I want a bit more from life. I do want, I've always wanted to do more than the 9-to-5 picket fence lifestyle. I really want to find something that I'm passionate about and pursue it as a career. And what happened was I started looking up property. I was interested, you'd see someone in a Lamborghini and I'd think, how do people get fast cars and nice houses? Because even a doctor who was the highest paid bracket I could think of is on £70,000 a year. How do people create real wealth? So I started Googling it, looking at different investment strategies. And one of the ones that came up that just, I can't explain why, but really grasped my interest was property. And I've spent a long time researching property, podcasts, YouTube, books, you name it. I used to be at work with my earphones in, working away, just listening to property podcasts. I was doing that for about a year, and then I went traveling at the back end of 2019, and I decided, I kind of made a promise to myself that, I'm going traveling, but when I come back, I'm going to get started in property. I'm going to find what I love. I'm going to do it. I don't know how. So I went around Southeast Asia for a month and a half, came back in 2020 and decided to be an estate agent. And I was doing that. I'll touch on that later, but in some of the roughest areas around me, saw some real character properties around there, and lost my job due to COVID. And when I was in COVID, I was like, I've got all the time in the world, if you remember the first lockdown, just sat really doing nothing. So I thought I'll invest more time learning about property. And I started a sourcing business, sourcing buy-to-let investments in my area, using what I've learned from being an estate agent throughout lockdown. And from there, met Caroline and Nathan from Blue Bricks magazine, began working for them part-time as their marketing manager, and working more for Nathan after that as an investment analyst. And then I eventually had a bit of a side hustle alongside the whole thing, which was copywriting within the property industry. When I was sourcing properties, a lot of people were looking at my profile. I was getting loads of investors interested in me, and people were saying, how do you do it? And it was the articles I was writing. So I was doing that as a side hustle for other people. That really, really took off. It replaced my income. And, I'd always wanted to be in business. So I went full time into copywriting and marketing for the property industry at the back end of 2021. And then quickly bringing it back to where we are now, Nathan rang me, and basically him and Caroline looking to sell Blue Bricks. With me being a writer, with me working for the business before, with me having a background in property, they asked if I'd be interested in purchasing it, and that's what's brought me here.
Fantastic. So quite a lot condensed in a short space of time. It's quite important. I think, you said that you've done various different roles, but I think that's not a bad thing, and I started working, started working 13, old paper and working for local shops and that. And then obviously from 16 in roles, but I think you learn a lot in your sort of younger years. I think working and doing various roles, you pick a lot up. So, I think you gain a lot of skills doing that. And then, like I say, you went into a estate agency, returning from traveling in 2020. Probably lucky you returned when you did. You might not have been able to get back, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then, going into your estate agency, obviously losing your job and realising, how can I make a shit ton of money? How do I get fast cars? Which obviously led you to property. Was there one book that you read? Obviously, you listened to podcasts and stuff. Was there one book that you read that you really sort of read it and thought, bloody hell, wow, it's literally blown my mind? For me, it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now, I know it's the most cliched book out there, but that was what sort of opened my mind.
Yeah, good point. I think the first book, it's not proper related, but the first book that Ben thought, wow, that's brilliant, was How to Win Friends and Influence People. No, I tell a lie, actually. It was The Richest Man in Babylon, which is a bit like a kind of, don't know how to explain it, but like a lesser version of Rich Poor Dad, very similar concepts. But that was the first book I'd read where it started to explain the principles of investing and how to build wealth. And I'll point out that the analogy before, love fast cars. I'm driving a Ford Fiesta at the moment, so still got a way to go. But it's not just kind of material things that drove me to it. But yeah, Richest Man in Babylon was a real eye opener.
Fantastic. I've got that on my Audible playlist. I think I've started it, but what I tend to do is I'll start a book and then I'll listen to a podcast, stick on the podcast, forget about the book, go on Audible, and then start another book. So I'm probably like, part way through about 4 or 5 different books, which is the best practice. But I'll definitely go back to that one and have a listen.
Yeah, I'm part way through 3 books at the moment, so I know what you mean.
Yeah. So with the estate agency, then what? I think this is quite important because there's a lot of people out there that says you can't find deals through agents. Take agents' donuts, spoil them with flowers and donuts. That's not how I would personally do it. All they care about is all the commissions and referrals. So if you're buying through them and they're getting money, then that's probably what they care about, not so much donuts and stuff. But when you worked in the estate agency, what did you learn from that you took into the property industry, so you're sourcing?
Yeah, so I think I'll be brutally honest with the estate agent stuff and what people say. Coming from that background, that estate agency is really cliquey. Like, it's really, really cliquey. And the kind of every morning, I don't know if all the estate agents did this, but we did, you would have like a morning huddle. And in the morning huddle, we'd say, look, what's coming to the market? What's on the market? What's the value we're doing? And yeah, names get thrown around in that meeting. Investors' names do get picked up in that meeting, and we say, we've got this property coming up on this street, and this investor's investing there, and we think he'd be interested. Let's give him a ring. Now, that happens not because that person's brought donuts or coffee, but because that person is a serious buyer. When they complete quick, and they treat it more like a business transaction. Yeah, I think bringing your estate agent's coffee helps to form the initial relationship, and you will get calls from that. But the ones that are getting the real off-market deals are the ones that have already bought through that agent and have proven that it's a smooth process, that they're easy to work with. So I learned a lot from that. And to be honest, what I really learned was just walking around properties, looking, I used to speak to investors, some pretty big ones in my areas, would take them to absolute shells of properties, completely run down, repossessed, old weed farms, you name it. And I used to just ask them, what are your plans with this? What are you going to do? What refurbishments are you going to complete? And then I learned so much from the investors there. So I think that helped going forward.
Brilliant. I think that's a key takeaway as well, is, like you say, asking the questions, what are your plans? What are you going to do? People can throw that back onto estate agents. I sometimes say, what would you do to it if you was buying it? Or have you had any other investors that are interested? would you share their plans? Sometimes they are open and honest. Sometimes they're not. Well, I'm not going to sort of divulge that information. But like you say, yeah, it's interesting. You're obviously keen to learn about it and understand about it, you know, from an investor point of view. So you're learning from, you know, the selling and the buying, which has probably taken you into quite a good stead in your sourcing business.
Yeah, it really helped. And what I found was, at the time I must have been about 19, 20, and I've always looked really, really young for my age. So what I kind of found was, being this sort of young looking lad asking these questions, people were like really happy to help me. It never seems like I was being intrusive or I was competition. I think people are like, oh, look, it's a young lad who's got an interest in what I'm doing. I'm going to help him out. So yeah, that did help. And it has really given me a good foundation for sourcing and understanding the deeper aspects of investing.
Brilliant. And what, you've touched on your area a few times. What area is it? Where are you from? What part of the UK?
Oh, here we go. This is a dodgy part. So I'm from Bradford initially, still am.
All right.
And the area I was sourcing in was Keighley. Now Keighley, one of those, it's a really strange town, and I found this when I was sourcing. You've got like these really nice streets with beautiful houses, and then 2 streets over, you've got the streets you wouldn't want to touch if you were investing. And it was so close together, it was really strange. So I'm not saying the whole of Keighley is bad, but just like anywhere, it had its areas where I was viewing houses, and it was, an experience.
Perfect. And I guess, you know, for an out-of-town investor, it's good that you have that knowledge from, you know, from your estate agency days and sourcing. And that's the same here in Hull. There's a few streets that you wouldn't touch with a barge pole, but 2 streets away are okay. And it literally is geographic dependent. I'll speak for surveyor. You know, there's one street, and at the other end of the street, it goes to another, which leads you through to another main road. It attracts a 5 to 10k difference, although the property could be exactly the same, just purely on the street. And it's less than 500 meters away. So it's good, obviously, having that knowledge so you can advise people, because a lot of people get caught out, don't they, really? They see, oh, them numbers are great, buy it, it's a shithole, tenants in arrears. And then they're left stuck with a property that isn't doing well for them.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we got a lot of interest from London-based investors, because you could get, like near me in some areas of Bradford, in the nice areas as well, you could get like a 3-bed house for £120,000 with a nice garden, probably £650 a month. So, you know, there were some good properties there, but there were some real dive areas that you really wouldn't want to invest your money into.
Yeah, brilliant. And have you not given up sourcing, but because obviously you've got new focuses now, is it still something you do, or you're putting all your focus into Blue Bricks?
I gave up sourcing when I started working for Blue Bricks as their market manager, because you know, I'd wanted to be in property, and sourcing seems like, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with this, like it seems like that way into property. And when I met Caroline and Nathan from Blue Bricks, and I was working in this business and learning from, you know, 2 very experienced business people, which I'd never had much opportunity to do before, I kind of gave that up and started working for them full time. So no, I don't source anymore, and to be honest with you, I don't think I would ever go back to it.
Yeah, it's one of them things. You either, you know, like I source, that was my primary business. That's led me to meeting my business partner. We've managed to buy a number of properties, do flips, commercial to residential. Today I've just had the vendor agree on 2 properties that he's going to sell to me over a period of time, and that's using funds from sourcing. But it's taken a certain period of time to get there, and there's a lot of work that goes into sourcing. So some people might think, oh, it's a quick buck. It's not. It is. You put it back, it's like another job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, when I started sourcing, was naive to what was really involved and how intense it was. You know, and you learn quite quickly. It's not as easy as some people would have you believe.
Yeah, I mean, my tip for people starting out would probably try and meet up with more experienced sources and try and see how you can help them out in their business. We're now recruiting. We have some people going out and doing most of the viewings for us, but they obviously get a chunk of the fee if we complete, because we don't have the time to do it. So we're outsourcing and leveraging other people, but they're obviously benefiting us and we're benefiting them. So it's like I say, is a full-time job. But we spoke offline. Obviously, you've done quite a few things. Stand-up comedy. Let's talk on that.
Yeah, so that's part of my style. So when I was saying I was looking for a career and something to do, one of the first things I tried was stand-up comedy. I really when I was 19, I did my first gig in front of 300 people for Cancer Research UK. And then I kind of continued to gig across the UK doing kind of 5-10 minute slots of stuff that I'd written myself. And then eventually ended up running my own comedy night for charity, doing different charities every month. But what happened was when I went traveling, obviously I packed that all behind, and then came back COVID. No one was gigging, no one was going to venues. And then, yeah, I just fell in love with the business side of things. But originally, before any of that, I think stand-up comedy was the first career I wanted to consider, which is a bit different.
Yeah, well, it can pay if you're one of the top ones, but you meet a lot of people that can gig, and that's all they do for many years. Some people don't get a break in it, some do, but many years later. But it's always good putting a smile on people's face, isn't it? I love it. I'd love to do stand up. I've always thought about it. It's just having the bollocks to, I think, get up on a stage and do it.
We can do a double act.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. You start. Brilliant. So you've given a bit of a background into who you are, what you're doing. So marketing manager at Blue Bricks, and you had the opportunity to purchase the business. So did you want to talk a bit more about what motivated you to buy it?
Yeah. So when I was offered to buy Blue Bricks, it came completely out of the blue. I wasn't expecting that at all. There wasn't a build-up. I was just offered it over a pint, essentially, for a price. And it was a tricky one, because at first it was like, the marketing and the copywriting is going really well. And if I take on this business, I'm not going to sacrifice that. And we talk a lot about imposter syndrome in property, and I'd be lying to you if I said, yeah, I bought the business and it was great. There was a huge part of me that's like, I am 23 years old, I've not published a magazine before, I was really, really scared to begin with, but then kind of going over the fear and getting more into the excitement, I realized, well, you know what, if I turn this opportunity down for the rest of my life, I'm going to be wondering what if, what if I'd have done it, what if it had gone well. And also Nathan, who sold me the business, helped me to have that self-belief. Obviously, he was selling it to me for a reason. It wasn't a happen chance. It was because he knew me and he believed in me. And everyone I talked to said that they believed in me and they thought I was perfect for the job. So I was kind of like, I've got this. And doing the sourcing, doing the marketing that I do, I'd already had a really good network of property people around me. I had such a good support network of businesses who would help me. So I was like, you know what, I can do this. It was frightening and it's not easy, but we took the leap, and thankfully it's been working out really, really well for us.
Brilliant. Yeah, and it's something that more so recently, it's something that I come across. So before that, whether I'd heard of it or not, it was something that I probably didn't. I didn't join it. Like I said, it's more so recently. But in terms of the materials that you get on there, you obviously get access to all the previous magazines. You can download them. Obviously, you do magazines every couple of months, don't you? It's a subscription model basically, which, like I said, we'll touch more on. But I did the first networking call, or the first sort of guest speaker call, a few weeks ago. I think it was last month, and you had Lloyd Girardi on there, who, for those who don't know, White Box Developments, various companies, huge in the new build and the build to rent game. So it's really interesting to be able to get on and see how, people, or see what people are doing a lot further in front of you, and understand that it is achievable, it is attainable, and get tips and meet a lot of like-minded people. There's a lot of people on that call. I did a podcast with Lucy Ingram a few weeks ago. I met her on that call. She just done her and Steph, her wife, did the first commercial to residential. So even just being on that one call, my network's already started to expand. So there's a lot of value in it.
Yeah, Lucy's brilliant. Lucy and Steph are actually featuring in our issue in the magazine, and completely agree. I mean, one thing that this is probably behind the scenes that people don't see with the magazines is we get people like Lloyd Girardi in the mag. We get quite big names, prolific names, people that are, kind of the top of the game. But I always tell people when they feature and when they talk is that you've got to provide value. You've got to show people how you did it and the mistakes you made, because it's easy for the people that are miles ahead for them to seem so far away that where they are seems unattainable. I try to get everyone to be really realistic and show people listening and at the events and people reading that they can do it too, and actually providing a bit of an outlay so that they can follow that. But that was a good look. That was a really good event. Was that? I think lots of people left with a lot of value, which is what's important to me.
No, definitely. And that is literally one of the reasons I set up the podcast, is because a lot of people, like you say, they're quite far ahead. They talk about, where they are now, but it's how did you get there? You need to know that it is achievable for people. And I'm sort of trying to bridge the gap between people who are in business looking to get into property, or already in business and property, but they want to get that sort of leap further, and they understand from the podcast is how can they do that. I've learned a lot even doing the podcast. So I've secured some deals using methods from the way the guest speakers have told me they've secured stuff. I think you can pick up little nuggets from everything, and if you compound it and compile it all together, it's only going to sort of benefit you in the future. But like I said, yeah, I've really enjoyed the event. I've signed up for the live event. So it's your first face-to-face networking event, isn't it?
Yeah, so 22nd of August, we've got our first ever in-person event. We're going to be running that monthly now, so that's going to be a monthly in-person event. This one we've got Ellen Mackay and Sarah Point and Ryan. Sarah Point and Ryan, well, they've both been front covers of previous Blue Bricks magazine issues. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I know it's going to be a good event. I'm looking forward to seeing you there as well. And again, I think people are just going to get a lot of value from it. Like briefly touching on, we've got the guest speakers, but the networking side is I'm trying to do something different so that people actually leave there with contacts that they're going to follow up. I don't want this to be another property networking event where people leave with 50 business cards that they're never going to follow up with. So I'm going to try and make it, I've got some ideas, an event where people are getting business from it. And that's what ultimately it's all about. It's great having guest speakers. It's great meeting other people, but we're all trying to kind of grow our businesses at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's how everyone can work together and help each other, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? And I think as a community, people in property are that way inclined. So you get some people who want to circumvent you and, rob your granny type thing. But the majority of people, like you said earlier, you was young, fresh-faced in property asking investors, and they were happy to share their experience. And I find that 90% of people, maybe even more than that, are happy to do the same.
Absolutely.
Share their experiences, provide you with tips, and help you get further in your business. And I think that's why probably a lot of people in property do become a success, because of the people around them.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And it's so nice that we've not spoken a while, but one of the people, when I was like this little kind of 19-year-old lad walking around viewings as an estate agent, one of the investors in my area who helped me, I'm actually trying to get him in the magazine as well. So it's so nice that I've been able to bring it back full circle and help him out too. And yeah, I think helping other people, like, you are absolutely right. So many people will help you if you just ask. But I think sometimes it can come back to, not just from that person, but I don't know if you'd call it karma, but I think there's always positive repercussions of that.
Yeah, I think karma and law of reciprocity, isn't it? It's like you give with the expected, or you don't expect to sort of receive back, but law of reciprocity is that in the future, it's good karma, isn't it, really, if you used to sort of break it all down. But it's interesting, like I say, and it does happen in property. The first property I sourced was for the lady Tracy, who's now my business partner. And we've actually just bought an office block to convert to residential. And it was the vendor who had the property I first sourced, like literally 2.5 years ago or whatever.
Wow.
So things do go full circle, and it's really interesting. Like you say, you don't know how your one sort of conversation or meeting now might develop and provide opportunities in the future.
Yeah, no, you genuinely never know. I mean, I had a guy, someone who was a bit younger than me, who was kind of following my journey through sourcing to where I am. And he used to say, oh, I can see you're a similar age. You've started out sourcing. Can you give me advice? And I've been, helping him on and off with just phone calls and stuff when I can. And now he's coming on board with Blue Bricks, and he's going to do some business development for us as like work experience. Helping us get new subscribers, new advertisers, that kind of thing. So again, it's come full circle. It's strange. It might take a year, 2 years, but I genuinely think the good things we do come back round for us.
Perfect. So we know Sam Cooke now. You've given us an introduction into what you've done, where you've got to. So let's talk about Blue Bricks, specifically the magazine. So you've purchased this business. When did you buy it?
So we bought it in, I think it was April, May this year. I'm trying to think when it completed. I think it was kind of May where we fully took over.
Perfect. So talk us through what is Blue Bricks magazine now. Obviously, how can people get involved? What does it entail? We've already touched on the online calls, the face-to-face, in-person networking meetings. But if someone says to you, what is Blue Bricks magazine? What do you stand for? You tell us what is it?
Bricks magazine, I think for me, what it's becoming quite quickly with what I'm doing and what I want it to be is I kind of want it to be, if someone goes, how do I get started in property, or how do I grow my property portfolio, that the answer is subscribe to Blue Bricks magazine. That's the vision I have for it, is that Blue Bricks isn't just a nice Sunday read, but it's something that everyone in property needs to have. So, brief overview, we've got the magazine, podcast, online event with guest speakers, and now we've got the in-person event with guest speakers, which will be slowly moving across the UK. The difference that we're doing with Blue Bricks magazine is we're just removing all kinds of narcissism. I've learned this from being a writer and a copywriter myself. When we have to write our story, it's very easy just to talk about us and what we've done and how great we are, because we all like talking about ourselves. And what I've tried to do with Blue Bricks is really strip that back and say, look, it's great to talk about yourself, but what's more important is, what mistakes have you hit? What problems did you have? How did you overcome them? So that you'll see, in the issues that we're doing and the one coming out, every single article in Blue Bricks, there is something that you can take away from it and use in your own business. Last month, we had Joe Taylor saying how you can use social media to get investors. This month we've got Dan Eaton, who's bought an entire street, and he's talking about how he got vendor finance and his advice for doing that. So there's always something in every single article that you can take away and use in your own business. So yeah, great read, brilliant for case studies, looking at what other people are doing, getting inspired by people like Andy and Lloyd, but it's also brilliant for taking some advice and keeping up to date with what's going on in the industry as well.
Fantastic. So, like I say, I've already seen some of the benefits, the networking side of things. I'm looking forward to the first published article that I'll receive. Like you say, it's coming out soon. Do you have a date for that yet?
Yes, we've sent it to print. So we're collating the mailing list now, so it should be with people this week or the start of next week. Fingers crossed.
Fantastic. So, what's the future for the magazine? Because I know you've got a lot of things in the pipeline, how you want to sort of maybe tweak it and change it, and obviously scale it and grow it. So, what do you have in the pipeline for it?
Yeah, so the pipeline for us is to have an event in most of the major cities in the UK, just because our subscriber base at the moment is nationwide and I want to accommodate everyone. Right now it's in Leeds City Centre, but my plan is to move it down. So we're going to have Manchester, Birmingham, London, maybe one a bit further north in Newcastle. So that's my plan for that side of things. I'm creating a really good YouTube. Already we've got some videos lined up. We're off to go tour a SIPS factory and show people how SIPS buildings work. So that's going to be good. And then the same with the podcasts as well, growing that out a bit like yours and trying to provide value from there so that people can listen when they're in the car journey, pick up some useful nuggets. And finally, for the magazine, I can't spoil anything, I suppose, but I'm in talks with some pretty large names, like celebrity style names, to potentially feature and give their story, which I think will be really inspiring. Some famous footballers potentially. I'm not a football fan, so famous to everyone but me, but trying to get them on the front cover. And yeah, I want to really provide people with as much value as possible so that everyone who's reading, it's helpful. It's more than just a nice read. I want it to really help people.
Perfect. So how do people find out, or how do they go on? So for those just listen, just to interject, I'll obviously put a link into the show notes. Go in via that, click on the link and be able to subscribe. I think, do you pay monthly or do you pay annually?
You can pay annually if you want to. There's a reduced fee for that. I think off the top of my head, that's £95 for the year. Off the top of my head, so don't quote me. And then you can use the link in the notes that you're going to use, and it's £9.99 a month. But that £9.99 a month includes the magazine, podcast, online events, and also the in-person event in Leeds, which again we're hoping to move to Manchester back end of this year. early next year as well. So we're going to have Leeds and Manchester. Normally that's $19.99. The online event on its own is normally $19.99. And you get access to that included in your membership. So that's already over £30 worth of value without the rest of it.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Like say, 20 quid for the online, you're paying $9.99 a month. You're getting access to everything. So the magazine, the in-person events, and you also get that online network for a tenner, basically, all bar a penny. Which is, like I say, I've seen the benefits, and I'm looking forward to the event. So I'll share the link. And how do people get in touch with you, Sam? Because there's probably people that will listen to this who might want to learn more. They might want to reach out to you, understand, they might want to feature. So obviously this podcast, it's not about people who might want to just get into property. There might be people who are already in it, and they might want to feature because they might have a lot to give back. So how can people find you as well?
Yeah, so just send me an email on sam@bluebricksmagazine.com. I'm on it at that regularly, so I will be in touch with you quite quick on there. Send me an email if you're looking to feature. If you just want to know a bit more about the magazine, or if you want to grab a virtual coffee, you will have seen from the online events and stuff I do, I'm always open to speaking with people, taking feedback from people, and helping anyone if there is any help I can give someone. So yeah, by all means, please email me, get in touch, or check out bluebricksmagazine.com for a little bit more about the business.
Perfect. There's also a Facebook page, isn't there, as well? So I'll share the Facebook page. Is there an Instagram for it?
There is, yeah, which is Blue Bricks Magazine again.
Right,
it's the Instagram. We've got our Facebook group, which is Blue Bricks Magazine Group. So, there's a theme. If anyone wants to promote their business or like do what, I know a lot of property people do vlogs of kind of what they've been up to, by all means, post in there. We're always trying to, encourage our members to engage with us and share their videos, share their updates with our community. So happy for people to get in there and say a big hello to us all.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. So Sam, listen, appreciate you coming on. I'm excited to see what Blue Bricks Magazine has in the future, and I'll get to meet you face to face at the event there in Leeds as well next month. So yeah, I'll share all the details, share the link for people who wish to subscribe, share all the contact details so they can get in touch, and hopefully we might even have some new subscribers and some new people to meet at your event.
Amazing. No, thank you, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure to do the podcast with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant.